Hello friends, today we're going to be doing a review of the G36C Carbine Rifle. Okay, so first thing, this is post Naval Strike patch where they've apparently buffed the weapon, and I was playing this for several days prior to that patch, and honestly there seems to be virtually no difference pre-patch and post-patch to me with this weapon. What I can tell you is if you like a gun that shoots slowly, is relatively accurate, but fires marshmallows, then you definitely want to be using the G36C because that is this weapon in a nutshell. It shoots slowly, it's pretty accurate, and it takes about 1,000 bullets to actually kill anyone. And it takes you about an hour to shoot those 1,000 bullets, so that's awesome. Now, there is one very important aspect to this weapon that we cannot ignore, and it's probably the best quality overall. It's the G36C looks fantastic. It's just a cool looking gun, and that in and of itself is really all the reason I need to use this weapon. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about our loadout. For our optic, we're using the Coyote Red Dot sight, and that is the optic I'm going to use pretty much across the board for any assault rifle or carbine style weapon. The reason for that is consistency. It's important. Highly recommend that you pick an optic and you stick with that, with the occasional exception of like a sniper rifle. You're probably going to use a little bit higher powered optic because you want to see a little bit further to take advantage of it being a sniper rifle. For the accessory, we're using the best looking accessory in the game, the green laser sight. I know you're all probably shocked by that, but come on, it's just so pretty. And for the barrel, we're using the compensator to get a slightly tighter grouping. Not that it matters much because the gun just feels generically the same. And for the underbarrel, we're using the vertical grip to get a slightly better hip fire out of the weapon than we would have otherwise. And there's no real negative penalty to using the vertical grip. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty. Basically, if you find yourself in a firefight, there's a couple things you need to hope for here. Number one, that you have cover. Otherwise, against about any other gun in the game, you're just totally screwed. Okay, another thing that you want to hope for is that they have really bad aim. Okay, because if you're shooting at them and they're shooting at you, just about any other gun in the game is going to kill you unless they have really bad aim. So be hoping that the people you're playing against are not very good. And the other thing is you can try aiming for the head, which is kind of something you want to do with these lower rate of fire weapons because it's going to help you out damage wise because you get that multiplier, so you put your opponent down a little bit quicker. Also, you can get away with about an 8-round burst that's going to be pretty much as accurate as any 4-round burst with this weapon. And the hip fire admittedly is relatively solid with this weapon, despite the fact that you are shooting giant marshmallows at people at a very low rate of fire. It is pretty decent. Okay, so taking these things into consideration, let's talk about where you really want to be playing with this weapon, how you want to use it, and what that means in terms of where you are in the pack. Well, you definitely don't want to be in the front of the pack because you're going to be mowed down, you're going to be murdered a whole lot, okay? It just doesn't do you any good to be up front with a weapon that underperforms like this one does. And you don't want to be in the back of the pack because it will take you 8 million bullets to kill anybody at range with this weapon. It's terrible. I know it's a bit of an exaggeration, but it feels as though a person sitting on a med pack at max distance will never die to a guy using the G36C. It's kind of ridiculous. So that leaves us with middle of the pack gameplay. And there's even a couple problems there because being kind of a supportive role to the main assault, you still want to be able to be effective head-on engagements with people, and unfortunately it's just not there with this weapon, so you're going to have to kind of modify it a little bit. And to help explain what I mean by that, I want you to picture kind of a rectangle, right? And as you're picturing that, imagine that as you get closer to the center of the rectangle, you get more attention on you and you're engaged in more danger. And on the outsides, there's less attention on you and less danger, okay? Well, with a lot of other middle of the road weapons where you're middle of the pack, you can progressively get closer to the center. With this weapon, you pretty much want to avoid going anywhere near the center at any given point in time. You don't want to stay at the back of the rectangle, but you want to stay on the sides of the rectangle at all time. And that's going to be the biggest difference with this weapon in middle of the pack roll than any of the others, is you want to stay on catwalks. You want to stay on ridges, supporting flag pushes and things like that. You do not want to expose yourself. You do not want to engage in head-on firefights. In fact, it is not a bad idea or ill-advised to turn tail and run when people are shooting at you, because the odds are pretty solid that unless you have some superior aim, some lucky headshots, and are shooting against people that can't really hit the broadside of a barn, you're probably going to die. And there's no shame in repositioning yourself to get the kill. Alright guys, that's pretty much what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this review of the G36C, and maybe you think I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments below. As always, GG, now go shoot somebody in the face.